Today I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to create something like an online portfolio. And this is going to be complete just front-end development. I'm actually only going to use HTML and CSS. There is zero JavaScript involved, or anything on the back end for that matter. So all this is taking in a few fonts from the interwebs and putting them together into a website with some CSS tricks and some HTML tricks. So yeah, as you can tell, I'm on my website right now, marcusman.com. I use this as a portfolio that I give to a few companies, and also to just put all some of the stuff I've done. So yeah, I'm pretty much going to show you how to make this website pretty much. I don't really know any other way to put it. I'm pretty much going to show you how to make this and how you can customize it to your uses and some of the tricks that you might use to do this. So just so you guys know, I'm not like a CSS guru or a HTML guru. I don't really know if anybody is. HTML and CSS are languages, if you can call them that, that don't really have like multiple ways to do things. Most of the time, there's one big way to do things. There might be a few times that you'll find multiple ways to do something, but usually there's something that'll work best for your case, or something that'll work best for most browsers. So yeah, I'm just going to show you how to make this. I'm going to use something called Scratchpad.io. Um, and it gives you, the cool thing is whenever you go to Scratchpad.io, it gives you a link. And pretty much, I'm going to delete everything that's here. Pretty much you can use this link and edit your code later. So you can go ahead and bookmark this or something. So I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this as Edward's portfolio. So pretty much we're going to make an online portfolio. All right. So this is a HTML editor that's real time. So if I type in something here, it pops up over there, which is pretty useful. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with just some HTML stuff here. So, I should have mentioned that in order to do this, you should know like a decent amount of HTML. HTML is really simple. Let's be honest. Like, there's really not much to know. And at least know a tiny bit of CSS. I know CSS tutorial if you search that. You're gonna come up with W3 schools all the time. This website's been around forever. Go ahead and go through this. If just like a few of the beginner tutorials for CSS. It's pretty simple though. So I mean, if you want to just try and understand it from the stuff that I'm showing you, a lot of people I think will be able to just understand it that way. So anyway, we have our head there. Right now, we're not gonna do too much with the head. We are going to add, let's go ahead and add title just so we don't forget later. And it actually won't show it up here. I'm going to call this Edward's portfolio. And that's just the name of this document in Scratchpad. But Edward's portfolio. If I can spell portfolio correctly. So that is what the title is. We're not going to really see that right now, but once we actually copy this over to our own thing, we will see it. So yeah, that's, and actually that'll go in the head. My bad. We'll put that in the head. And by the way, if you tab, it'll actually tabs it in, excuse me, by 2 spaces, I think. Let's see. Yeah, it's 2 spaces, which is cool because that's usually what HTML uses. Okay, so we want to... Okay, so after this, we want like a body or something. So if I go ahead and inspect element on my website, you can kind of see how this is all like, shown. So we might as well just do this. I don't really care if you guys just copy stuff. Obviously, don't just like copy all my programs and stuff. But as far as the layout of the website goes, it's really simple. So you can see we have our head here, we have our style, which we'll get into later. And then we have our body. We have this thing called main, which is something inside the body, which just represents like the main content for our website. So yeah, so let's go ahead and just lay it out sort of like this to start. So we have our body. And at the top we have our heading, which is just Edward's portfolio. Or let's go ahead and just call it Edward. This guy's name is Edward, and this is his portfolio. So yes, there we go. And then we just have main elements, our main area here. And we'll see why this is important in a second. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go back to our head, and we're gonna go ahead and get it. Gonna go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and put in some CSS code here. So that is these two style things here, and I'm actually gonna, well, I'll keep it how it was. So within these two areas is where we represent our CSS code. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and first of all center this heading, which is very easy to do. So pretty much we're going to just, you know, for all H1 elements or heading elements in HTML, we're just going to make it so they're always centered. So just going to go ahead and put in text-align center. And now Edward is centered, which is cool. Let's see, how can I best start this? So pretty much what's going on here is each one of these tabs, well, by default, this is content, right? So these are all the section IDs for content. So right here is content 1, right here is content 2, right here is content 3, etc. So, and by default, these contents are hidden. So this is hidden. Actually, this is the only page that isn't hidden, but that's only because this is selected. So we have to make some sort of selection like type of interface thing in CSS. So that's going to be something we will do. So, oh yeah, so all of these buttons are pretty much like radio inputs in HTML. So that's how we're going to start this. So we have inputs for all of our tabs here. Actually, what we're going to do first is we're going to create some sort of area to actually put all of our things. So first of all, just a quick thing to put on the top here, just to make sure that everything we do here is going to take up 100% of the height of the page, because that is important. And then we're going to do some things with the body here. We're going to go ahead and set a background to be, well, if you want it to be exactly like my website, we can just go ahead and make it, just copy that if you want. So let's go to style. Oh, EEE. Okay. So you can use like a color picker as well, but EEE will work. And so that's the background of the body, and now I'm also going to set the background of the main element, which is gonna kind of be like that subsection down here. So just so you know, body is the entire page. Main is this box in the middle. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. So main, we're gonna go ahead and set the background to FFF, which is just pure white. Okay, so let's go ahead and set the width of the main box now. So if you'll notice, when you move this this like window around, it's sort of like, it always stays in the center. First of all, everything always stays in the center, and actually it does like a nice transition as well, which is kind of just a cool thing that CSS does. Like it doesn't just like whoop and go straight to the new position. It actually kind of like moves there as you move the slider. But the width of the and the width and the height of this main element actually changes. You can see it's getting a little wider here because some of the text is different. Here it's getting the height is obviously a lot shorter because there's less text, and that can all be set with some minimum elements and some maximum elements when it comes to width and height. So in main here, we want to go ahead and set min-width to, well, I'll do like 320 pixels, just whatever. I don't even know if this is exactly what it was like in the website. Let's see, what is the, I feel like that's familiar. What is the, what is it on the website? Main. It's not somewhere here. It's gotta be, there it is. Oh, it's 320 and 800. I thought that was familiar. I've entered that in a lot, so yeah, we'll make it like the website. So we have min width of 320 pixels and max width of 800 pixels. We're also gonna have like a padding so that the text isn't just like there. And the second I put in the padding, you'll see it actually shows up. and but what I just said is the text isn't just going to be like in the really top left corner. So if I went ahead and put something here like hi, it's if I got rid of the padding here, it'll just be like that, which we don't want. We want natural padding around that. So there we go. And the margin just represents the margin within the page. So if I got rid of this, actually, I can't really show you that right now. But just trust me, you need that. Margin, 0 auto. I'm not really a CSS expert, as I said. This is just kind of code that you can find online very easily. And as you can see, when we slide this across, I believe this is probably going to be like probably greater than 320 pixels. But when we get to that point where we are going less than 320 pixels, so you can see this starts to go off the screen. So if we got rid of this, it would just constantly get smaller, which isn't necessarily what we want. I think there might be a default minimum width in there somewhere, which actually the default minimum width would be the padding in this case. But we don't want that. We want that to stay at 320 pixels by like, you know, that's the minimum pretty much. So yeah, that's simple enough. We set our background to be white, so now we have like this subsection, which is pretty cool. And we've put it into the page and stuff. So anyway, let's get into the actual content here. So I just have hi. Let's get rid of that. So let's say we're going to go ahead and create some like divs for our different elements here. So we're going to go ahead and set we're going to create a new section here. We're going to call the different content areas with like the stuff I'm highlighting here and the stuff I'm highlighting here. This is all going to be sections. So section, and we're going to set identifiers for each one of these sections. So pretty much you just do section ID equals, and for example, just content 0. Okay. So this is content 0. And within here, we're just going to have a paragraph. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is it's useful to just get some like filler text if you don't have anything actually written down for now. And a place you can get this is html-ipsum.com. This is lorem ipsum, like different types of generations. I'm going to go ahead and copy this medium paragraph into here. So we're just going to paste that here. As you can see, that's like a paragraph. Just all there. And that is this section. So we can have multiple sections. For this example, we'll go ahead and have 2 sections. So this is content 1, and what we'll do is we'll copy over the long paragraph for this one. So immediately what you're going to see is that both of the contents are showing up on one page, and we don't want that. That'd be the same as like this being on the end of the home page, which we don't want. So we will get to that in a second. A few things I want to do beforehand is actually import a few fonts. So I'll put these links in the description. If I don't remember, somebody just put a comment down. I will probably remember though. So I'm gonna paste 2 fonts here, and both of these fonts are well, I'll go through them. So this is just Open Sans, which is a basic Google font that's just like sans, and these are the different weights. And this is Font Awesome. Now, Font Awesome is awesome. I'm not even joking. Just look up Font Awesome, okay? And or I guess you can go to fontanswer.io, okay? And if you go to, I'm using version 4.7. I think I have that here. Yeah, 4.7. If you go to icons, you can see Font Awesome is pretty much just like a ton of different icons you can use in your website. And that's actually all of these icons. I did not make these icons. These are all Font Awesome icons that you can get by importing the style sheet. So that's what we did here. We imported the style sheet, and now if we set the font to Font Awesome, our Unicode, we can enter the Unicodes for any of these icons we want, and they will be put into our website. So there are a lot of icons. I mean, a lot of them, tons of them, and they add a lot more. Added a lot more in 4.7. I think the version I have on my website is like 4.1 or something. So it's actually kind of old. little old, not really. The big scheme of things. But yeah. So anyway, what we're going to do now is, well, let's continue laying out our content. I'm sort of getting sidetracked here, and I apologize for that. So our inputs here is what we're going to lay out now. And the inputs, as I said, are just radio buttons. So if we go ahead and just say input ID equals, and this is going to be tab 0. This is going to be the ID for that one. And the type of this is going to be radio. And as you can see, that creates this like radio check. Name is going to be tabs, and which is kind of this is the collection of radios. And it's going to be checked by default. So this is tab 0. It's going to be checked by default because we have to have at least one content selected. And then we're going to create tab 1, and tab 1 is not going to be checked. So you go between these two since they're of the same name. If we made this tabs 5 or something, they'll be different. So, yeah, there you go. So that's the cool thing about radio. You can't have multiple selected at once. You can only have one selected, which is kind of what you want for tabs. But what you'll notice is on my website, I don't have like actual radio things, right? Like I'm hiding those somehow, and we'll get into that. But first of all, we're going to set labels for each one of these tabs. So label 4, and we'll set this label for tab 0, which is what we created above. And this label is just going to be home. Okay, so that's the label for this. And the label for tab 1 is going to be, I don't know. What would Edward have done, guys? I think Edward would have had impressive Sharpie collection. That's going to be the label for this one. So as you can see, when I click these, they actually check the radio as well. So if I click this, the actual label for this, it checks the radio, which is cool because this allows us to actually just hide the radio like selector, because that doesn't really look nice. At least it's not the effect we're going for here. So to do that, we're just gonna go ahead and put in some CSS code for the input type here. So down here we'll just have input, and we'll go ahead and set this to we'll set the display property of this to none, and very easily enough that literally just gets rid of the radios. And these are still radio selections. Like when I'm selecting these, it is actually changing the state. We just now we can't really see this until we do some more stiff. So another thing we can do is we can now change the CSS for the label portion, which is this stuff down here, the home and the impressive Sharpie collection. And we're going to set the display property of this to an inline block. If any of this stuff is confusing, you don't know what this is, look it up. Honestly, Google search any of this and you will find it. And we don't want it to be like directly next to each other, so we're going to add some padding. We'll do 15 pixels on the left and 25 pixels. Wait, which direction is that? Oh, I see. Okay, so that's on the left and the right of the label, so that's fine. And font, the weight of the font is what we selected above. And we'll make that 600 for now. And actually, I haven't even set the font yet, have I? So in the body here, the body element, we want to go ahead and set font to we'll do 14 pixels, open sans serif. Okay. And there we go. So this is the line numbers. And we'll set that to 1 for now. And that should be fine for now. Okay, so let's go back down to here. Our font weight is 600 for the tabs. We want to align the text to the center. Okay. Did that work? We'll set the color of these to I think this is what it was on my website, because by default we're talking about the not selected version of these tabs. So, and we'll add a border to these so we can sort of understand them. And well, 1 pixel border, and we'll make it solid. So there we go. We now have a border for each one of these tabs. And we'll get back to this later, and we'll change this up a little bit once we get further on. So this isn't aligning to the center. Am I forgetting something here? Display inline block. Font weight. We have padding. We have font weight. We have text align. Oh, let's create a margin here as well. Yeah, margin 0, 0, -1 pixel. So that will like expand our area here a little bit. The reason why we have this, I'm copying this from other code. We'll get back to this later. And actually, you know what? I'll comment this out, and we really will get back to that later. I'm just trying to figure out why this isn't centering. I think it's just because I'm aligning this. Oh, no, we don't want it to be centered. Well, oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. So the home and the Impressive Sharpie collection is centered within their own labels here. But we actually want this to be like over here. These 4 tabs aren't centered inwards. We could do that, but that's actually not the effect I'm going for. So we'll keep it out how it is. So now let's go ahead and do some section code. So as you can see above the sections here, we have this horizontal line. And trust me, the horizontal line is still here. We're just covering it when we select it, which is we'll get into that in a second. So what we're gonna do now is we'll go ahead and put some section code up here. Trying to do this in document order. So for the sections, first of all, display none, because I don't want that text to be displayed by default. We'll actually display those if we're in that specific section in a minute. So the padding, we're gonna go ahead and actually let's go ahead and turn on the display here. I wanna add some padding to these as well. So we have padding 20 pixels, 20px00, and we'll add a border on the top, which is that line I was talking about, and it's just 1 pixel of solid, and we'll make it that. So obviously this section is being shown right now, and normally it wouldn't be, so that line is there. Just ignore that for now. And actually, you don't have to ignore it for much longer, because we're just going to go ahead and put back in this display none. So by default, none of that is being displayed, but obviously we don't necessarily want that to happen. So right below here, we're going to do some epic CSS code. So when you use the hashtag modifier in CSS, you're selecting a specific identifier that you have below. So we have ID tab 0 here. So we want to go ahead and select that identifier, and that is a radio which happens to have an element called checked. And pretty much if it's checked, we want to display, or this next section of CSS code will be for content 0. Otherwise, if tab 1 is selected, this next piece of code will be for content 1. Okay. So then what we can do is just display block, which is the default display. So when I go to home, it displays content 0. When I go to Impressive Sharpie collection, it displays content 1, which is what we want. So yeah, that might be a little bit confusing. Pretty much this is like a, I guess, a switch statement or an if statement if you've used a lot of like Java or C. So yeah, that's pretty much what that is. It's just a way of formatting it. So that's cool. Now we've got effectively tabs. It's more just now we've got most of the functionality down. We just want to like design this to make it look better. So what do we want to do first? Maybe the first thing we can do is, as you can see, I've got like some cool looking borders going on here, and actually the line below it appears to disappear, but it actually doesn't. I'm just covering it with another line, which is interesting. So what we are going to do is we are going to change the border around the label if it is checked. So here's a cool thing. We're going to do, I guess, below both of these. So we're going to do input if the input is checked. This is for the input div if it's checked, and this is also affecting the label of the input. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the color to 555, which is the selection color. So as you can see now, this is changing color, which is that just looks so much better now, doesn't it? By the way, if you want to just stop wherever, like, if you're happy with what your website looks like, I'm gonna continue going further here, So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and set the border, the selection border to something else. What we're going to do actually, sorry. So what I want to do is I only want to display the border when we have something selected. So what we're going to do up here is we're going to go ahead and actually make this border transparent. Now you may be thinking, if that's the case, why have a border in the first place? Well, I'll show you in a second. So for the input checked, we're going to go ahead and add the 1 pixel border like that. So now your question is, why even have a border here in the first place if it's just transparent? Well, let me show you what happens if we get rid of the border. So if we get rid of the border, notice how when I select this, this element kind of like, the other element kind of shifts over a little bit. And that's because technically we're adding more to the element. We're adding a little bit, we're adding 2 pixels going east to west and 2 pixels going north to south, which shifts everything over. Whereas if we have the transparent border, we're accounting for that space that's soon going to be a solid border. So everything stays in the same spot, which is useful. So we have our general border here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set the border, the top, border dash top, to a 2 pixel solid, and we'll make this red. We'll make it different from my website. So as you can see on my website, I have it orange. This is kind of where, you know, you can customize it. So you have red, you can make it green, you can make it orange like mine is. We're going to make it red, because red is a cool color. And we're going to set the border, so now what I want to do, right, is I want this to blend in with the bottom, and to do that I do have to do some offsetting. So this is when we get back to our label here, and pretty much want to add a margin, and the only thing we want to change is the Y by -1 pixel. So pretty much now the border at the very bottom is connected with this this horizontal line we have. And now the cool thing we can do is we can go ahead and set the border bottom to 1 pixel solid, and then the color of our main div here, which is just pure white FFF, and now it like blends in, and it's like it's like you know, the entire style of our website just entirely changed, which I think is just awesome. I think that's really cool. So so that's what we got going on here. So that blends in, which is cool, and we're selecting our content. I am trying to figure out what we want to do next. Oh yeah, so another thing we obviously have going on here is we have icons before our labels, which is using the Font Awesome icons, as I touched on earlier. And this is another attribute, something we can grab a hold to in CSS, and that's just something before a div. So label before, and we're pretty much just gonna like set content here. So what I could do is just content, and then copy in the code. So if we go down to like bath, for example, here's a code you can use, and this is on the fontawesome.io website. You can copy this Unicode in, right? And if we just paste that, it's going to show up, but we want to put a slash before it. And this actually uses it as Unicode. And what we want to do is we want to set the font family to Font Awesome. And then we see the bath there, obviously. And actually what we want to do is we want to make the font weight normal. You can also make it bold, which doesn't do too much. Normal is actually bold is not too great, and I think bold will make the icons look weird. So, and we also want to have a margin on the right side of just like, I think yeah, 10 pixels is what I used, just so it separates it. And you also might notice, sorry, you also might notice, my gosh, hold on just a second. About that, I do not like allergies either, so you might notice that the content is the same for both of them. So what we can do is the same sort of thing we did up here, except a little bit different. So we're going to go ahead and do label, and then for, and this is an attribute selector in CSS, for, and if if the label we're talking about contains 0, and then before, okay? So this is code specifically for tab 0. So that was a lot of stuff. If you go ahead and search CSS attribute selector, you'll see what I used. I'm pretty sure that'll be another W3 Schools link. But pretty much what's happening here is I'm saying if the label contains 0, then this is the before CSS. And the before CSS, here we can set the content to whatever we want. As you can see, that only changed the content for home to H in this case, but we're going to go ahead and find the code for home here, so we can search the icons for home. And as you can see, here you go. And then F015 is what we want, and we can just copy this in here and put a slash before, so we identify this as a Unicode entry. And there you have it. So we have home for tab 0, and then for tab 1, we want an impressive Sharpie collection. So just copying that same code, setting 4 to 1, and let's see if we can find a good icon for that. So Sharpie, is there actually an icon for that? Is there a pen icon? Pencil's okay, we can find another one. Right. Okay. Pencil's okay. 4040. F040 is the code for this. So we're going to go ahead and paste that in. And you can find icons that represent your needs. So some of the stuff I did here is home is the home icon. Bad Driver, which is a game I made involving cars, is a car icon. Java game tutorials, I use a Java cup, or just a teacup icon. And Bode, which is a web online game to do with shooting arrows at each other, I use kind of a target icon. So whichever you want to use is up to you. That's entirely your decision. So we got that going on for us now. So next thing is something you might notice is whenever I hover over one of these labels, you know, there's nothing happens. Whereas if I hover over stuff here, stuff happens. So pretty much what we're gonna do is you might notice that when I hover over something, it's kind of like the midway point between the color that the unselected items are and the color that the selected items is. So we're gonna go ahead and do label hover, which is another radio attribute. Actually, I'm not sure if it's just a radio attribute. It might be an attribute of other stuff as well. I'm sure it is. And the color I used was 888 for this, and actually changes the cursor as well to a pointer cursor. And now when we hover over something, that happens. And actually, if we hover over our main thing, it changes to a pointer cursor as well. So there we go. If we hover over the one that's selected, it does the same thing, which is useful. So we are almost done here. We only have a few more things to do. So the font for the heading is not what we want it to be for some reason, so I want to figure that out. Oh, well, what we need to do here is actually set the weighting. So font dash weight, make it 400. And it was what I wanted it to be. I just wasn't putting in the right stuff. I'm gonna add some padding here to make it look to put it into the page a little bit and separate it from our body here. So there we go. What do you want this guy's last name to be, guys? What do you think? Edward Singleton. Edward Singleton is his name. Impressive Sharpie collection is his game. I don't know what I just said. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. There's really not much else to this. Let's see if I'm forgetting anything before I really do wrap this up, because that would be embarrassing. I'm just gonna scroll through my notes and see if I forgot anything. And not... Wait, yes I did. A little bit, just one thing. So this is very optional, but you might notice as well, my line spacing is different. And you can actually change this in the font up here by making it like 1.5 or something. But you notice that kind of changes like how everything looks, right? If you made it like 1.5 or you made it 10, right? Like that changes how everything looks. So I'm gonna make it 1 up here. But what you can actually do is for each paragraph element, which is what you have on the inside of your contents, is you can go ahead and just use the line height attribute and set it to like 1.5. And as you can see, what that did is that separated the lines here, but not anywhere else, which is really cool. And you can do other stuff as well, like add a margin. On my website, I have a 10 pixel, 20 pixel margin to kind of put it all inwards from the main, like, you know, from it's not lined up directly with the edge of this these tabs, and on the other side as well. So that's another thing you can do. And I think that would be it. So, oh yeah, so to add more contents, right? So let's say I wanted to add another one here. Hopefully you guys can figure it out from here, but if I want to add input ID tab 2, type, and actually let's just copy this and paste this. Make it tab 2. And as you can see, you can actually have two of the same tab, and some kind of confusing things will happen if you do that. But we're going to make this tab 2, and tab 2 is going to be typewriters. Okay. And typewriters is going to be content 2. So we have to make another section here called content 2, or actually it can be called really whatever you want it to be. And what should we copy in here? Is there any other stuff we can take from here? Well, I guess we could take a list. I want this to be in a paragraph, but yeah, let's take a list. Boom. Oh, that looks terrible. Okay. Okay. So there we go. We've copied in a little list here for content 2, and that won't show up automatically because remember we have to actually change it up here as well. Unfortunately, we do have to list the case for every single tab. There isn't really an automatic way to do this. So pretty much just add an extra clause for content 2, and as you can see, that pops up right there. And I think the lists aren't really confirming with the line spacing, but we can probably add a another thing here, can't we, to fix that. Line height 1.5. There you go. So that fixed that. And you could do cool things as well, like change the actual like list things here as well. I mean, there's so much you can do if you look into what you can do with CSS. I mean, like change the numbers to other things. But anyway, let's find an icon for typewriters. I wonder if there's actually a typewriter. Nope. Type. I was looking for like a cash register because a cash register kind of looks like a typewriter. Well, we'll just go ahead and, well, no, we don't want to use a typewriter. Come on, I mean a keyboard. Keyboard looks too new school. We want something old school. This is extremely important, by the way. If your icons are bad, and I'm only partially joking. If your icons are bad, your website ends up not looking as great as it could. So, Alright, you know what? Just for the sake of saving this video, saving some time in this video, we'll just go ahead and use the keyboard. So that's F11C. And as you might see, no icon will show up by default unless you say so. So, kind of like we did here. Label for, and if the label contains 2, before. Oops. We want to set the content to that Unicode. So there it shows up over there. And there you go. Now we have our 3 tabs here, and I showed you how to add another one. That's really it. You can also maybe have like a section up here that's different. You can maybe adjust the padding to your needs. But here you go, guys. I'm gonna put this link in the description of my video as well, because if you go to this link, you can actually see the all of the code. If it's easier for you to literally just to copy and paste it, I think going through it and trying to type it all in is useful and actually helpful as well. But I'm not gonna say you guys can't just copy all this code. I mean, it's very, very basic code using a few cool CSS tricks. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed complete front-end development of a portfolio. At this point, you can do stuff like insert links. Some other stuff you can do is customize the actual link colors, which I think is something that if you go through the W3 Schools tutorials for CSS, they'll actually go through. So, Yeah. And that's another thing that's a CSS attribute selector. So, for example, you could do, I think A, like a href, right? So if you did just A and then where was I going with this? I don't know. It's an attribute thing. I don't know where I was going with that. You can change stuff relative to whatever you're using in HTML. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.